G'day Doggies fans, and get welcome to fans of the NRL who are very worried about the impact of the concussion crackdowns and the rules that have been implemented over the last 4 or 5 years in order to try and reduce the amount of head injuries and obviously long-term injuries to players' brains who play the game of rugby league. And I really want to talk about what we need to do, what I believe we need to do as far as having an adult conversation, one that has no vested interests, and one where the media, especially, and people in the game. I've got some pictures here. Wayne Bennett. I would have Phil Gould on there because Phil was very vocal prior to getting his role at the Bulldogs about concussions, and he's sort of piped down on it now. He was waiting for this report that was going to tell us all the truth. It's never eventuated. I, I think he's been hushed on this situation. I really do, but I don't know. That's just my personal belief. Wayne Bennett can say and do what he wants. James Graham, obviously a living example of someone who is dealing with the after effects of having many concussions. But one important thing that he's always said is that he knew what he signed up for and he wouldn't change a thing. Okay? And that's him as a retired player who knows that he could be suffering some ongoing effects later in life that they're going to obviously onto pretty early and they're going to work on and that sort of thing. And I haven't really heard him talk much about it. There was quite a bit of talk about it with Fox earlier on. Then you've got the people like Buzz Rothfield who, just swing from one side to the other. We've got to get it out of the game, Kenty. Braith Anasta who, wants to keep the kickoff. Now, that is actually a tangible way of reducing the amount of high collision impacts in a game of rugby league is by getting rid of the kickoff. But you're tearing at the fabric of the game. But it is a tangible way to get a result, to get a reduction. And if we're heading down the path that's the only path we have, they're going to have to do it. Just like they'll have to make it that you can't tackle above the waist or above the sternum. Well, you can't really anyway, but no sternum contact, no chest contact. It's got to be under the armpits, right? Under the chest. If they do that, they will get a tangible reduction in head contact, but there'll still be the tacklers. There'll be still people who get bent in half from the waist and, do the cartilage in their hip, have their ball socket pop out of their hip and be, suffering for the rest of their life from that, which is pretty debilitating. But they might also hit their head and get concussed. And that might happen a few times. What I want to talk about is how sin binning a player and penalising them for an incidental contact where there's been no swinging arm, where a player's essentially where two players are there in a block formation, one goes in, the first man in hits someone, a lower, it drops them a bit, and then they collect the shoulder on their way down of the second player, which is what happened with Josh Curran. Burton sort of got him hard across the chest. He sort of first contact, he's fallen into that second one with Josh Curran. Josh Curran can't go anywhere. He can't do anything. There is no foul play in that moment, no matter which team you're on. Lewis Dodd swings his arm high, collects someone in the jaw, gets 2 weeks for a careless high tackle. Max King, who sort of come across and there was a swinging motion, little clip across the shoulder, then the jaw, like it wouldn't have hurt the player, but they stayed down. He gets $1,000 fine. In my opinion, his contact's worse than Josh Curran's. What's Josh supposed to do in that? Look, I've watched it 100 times. There's no way that he has the ability to do anything. And what I want people to focus on is how many times does this happen in an under-16s games with no video and no video ref? How many times does it happen in Group 9, Wagga Kangaroos, playing, the Tumut Blues or whoever's out there these days, Gundagai Tigers, young cherry pickers, right? How many of those players, if the player stumbles to their feet and shows, signs that they've got a head issue, but you didn't see a swinging arm or anything like that, and the touch judge doesn't really see it, and this happens 2 or 3 times in every match across the world in rugby league. There's no video referee, there's no cameras, right? No one's going to get penalised for this. But those players are going to still cop those hits accidentally. No foul play. And even the ones that are foul play, they can actually get away with it if it's not seen, which happens all the time. So the game that's on television, by retrospectively sin binning someone because it was a Cat 1 because they fell into Josh Curran's shoulder, he then gets sin binned. I'm not worried about the game it's a trial game, right? I'm not worried about the result. The Dogs were outplayed. 27 players versus 23 players at the end of the day. 28 players actually versus 23 players. Not that that's relevant. But anyway, the point is, Josh Curran has been sin binned and now suspended for a contact he couldn't really avoid. And it's not going to do one thing to protect any child in rugby league, to protect any player in the game that plays it. There's a lot more people who play rugby league that aren't in the NRL, who play hard and run hard, tackle hard, do all the things they love to do, love the contact just as much, just haven't had the same amount of opportunity or just aren't as good to make it, but they're putting it on the line for their mates, and a lot of them are going to end up punch drunk. And no one in that game got sin binned for that type of contact, and no one got sent off. Sometimes there'll be, I saw his shoulder hit his head, and they'll try and sin bin him or send him off. But a lot of these, you go back to RTS and Critter, no one knew nothing happened. It was just a normal block tackle with three defenders coming together, and he's copped the outside man of Critter's shoulder as he fell into the tackle. And he got suspended for that, Critter. What a load of shit. And he's not the only one who's been suspended for the similar types of things. You shouldn't be sin binned for that. What there should be is that you can activate 19th men and more players if need be, if this happens, if a team's unlucky enough to cop some incidental contact. But we're not protecting any kids in this game by retrospectively looking at a video replay for contact where the defender can't really do anything, but he's got to be accused and punished because someone got injured in the head. What if he hits him in the waist and breaks his waist, snaps his pelvis? Oh, it's part of the game. We see these knee injuries. We see lots of things that are caused through impact in just playing the game. And the head's no fucking different. So why aren't these people standing up for the game? Like it sickens you watching your kids play footy when they get hurt. I get it. But, and parents who don't want to, who see this on TV and don't want their kids to play because of it, rugby league's not for them. You get participation up by having rules which make the game entertaining, and that's in attack and defence, right? That give more opportunities to kids and whatever else. The way they present it on the TV and all that, it's all relevant. But trying to pretend that these concussions are avoidable through punishment is the problem, because they're not. Unless you tangibly change the fucking rules, make it below the sternum, or it's got to be around the waist. If you're that serious about protecting people, make all the rules around the waist. You'll still get some concussions, but you will tangibly reduce the amount of concussions you get. If you cancel kickoffs in games, you will reduce the amount of high-speed collisions which happen because of kickoffs. There will be a reduction in concussion. There will be. That's why they're talking about it. I still believe there's better headgear and stuff that could be developed and used and tested if they've got the right appetite for it. And I did hear some stuff on SEN last year about they're making some real progress with the NFL helmets, like they're softer ones and actually reduce concussion. I hope it's not just sales spin. I really do. But maybe those helmets can actually help, because a lot of people say their helmets don't help and might actually make it worse. They're more of a, you feel safer because you got it on sort of thing. Well, I know for a fact when I wore shoulder pads, I felt a lot bigger and stronger than when I didn't have them on back in the day, but they don't use them now. Anyway. But that's the point here. It's all perception. It's all bullshit. It's Hollywood. It's lies. And one of these, because these fucking media are so reliant on divisiveness and split opinion to promote our game and make money for our game, they're quite happy to sit there and be, I'm in the category of the 4 and I'm in the category of the defence, and then swap sides. And they're all complicit in it. Someone needs to stand the fuck up for the game and say, listen, you penalise foul play like you always have. And sometimes it's subjective. And if it's subjective and it ends in a player getting hurt, let the judiciary sort it out. Don't sit there and engage in what's subjective while the game's still on. Sort it out later on, right? But what happened with Josh Curran was absolute bullshit. And the club should fight it. The club should fight this charge, even though they know they'll probably lose. And someone should have the fucking balls. And I feel sad saying that the Bulldogs should have the balls, but I'd love that. But obviously it's not easy. But there's media here who've got the ability to come up and just stand up for the game and talk the facts. The facts are that you've signed up to play a game of rugby league. You are going to have 100% chance that your body will be under trauma from your head to your toes, and you're going to suffer injuries, and some will be debilitating for the rest of your life and may cause you pain and suffering and or dementia forever. It's a fact. Just like that should be on every time you have a drink of alcohol or smoking. It's the same thing. What you are doing here will have some sort of negative effect. Right? But in rugby league, this is what we're going to pay you to accept that risk. It's risk money. Yeah, we love it. Now, the thing James Graham said, he wouldn't have changed a thing. He knew what he was signing up for. He knew, and he knew it was an honour, a badge of honour to get up if you got hit in the head or whatever. They all were like that. Maybe it's better to stay down and go and get treatment and then have 11 days off. I've got no problem with that. I've got a problem with the way people use the head bin to milk penalties and time. I think the NRL and the refs are aware of it and have put in some real harsh sort of, warnings and threats regarding the misuse of the head bin and stuff like that, but it's still happening. If you stay down because there's something wrong, you go to the head bin. Simple as that. That's a way of trying to protect players. But don't sin bin the bloke who just... Josh Curran couldn't get low. He was the one coming in over the top, and the fella fell into his shoulder. Now, we see ones where they've got the swinging arm to wrap around. Player falls into that, collects him in the jaw. There's always ones that are going to be where you got to draw a line somewhere. But these shoulder contact where they're not leading with the shoulder, they're just sitting there waiting for the contact to happen. You can literally, the player could hit you in the chest and get concussed. They could hit you in the shoulder. They could, hit you on the pec, hit you on your own sternum. Someone's got to fucking do something. There's no way Josh Curran should have been suspended for that. Lewis Dodd swung an arm, hit someone in the jaw. Max King, he's got a little arm coming across. Whilst I don't think there was anything intentional in it, I thought it was worse than Curran's. The outcome wasn't worse though. That's the difference, see? You got two players with the same outcome. Lewis, knocked out in Category 1, can't come back on. Dodd and Curran are sin binned. Doesn't matter when it happens. See, that's consistent. Yeah. Consistent application of a rule that they're trialling. But that rule's only going to help sports bet and live betting agencies. And sucking more people in. Oh, this sin bin happened and they were 2 behind. I've backed in the team from behind. Straight up. Sports bet loses a bit of money, but that player has just had that winning feeling. Do you reckon they're going to bet again after they've won? There's not too many gamblers who stop betting after they win. Right? It's a sickness. And it's a compulsion. Even for the people who aren't that, the ones they target, which is put $50 on this and we'll give you 10 to 1 odds. To suck them in. It's just part of life, and gambling's an industry, and Australians gamble more per capita than any other country on the world. And some of these rules bring that into play. Making the game more unpredictable for sides really has an effect on betting markets and the amount of money they can make. Right? I'm not saying that the concussion, crackdown is to increase the money that betting agencies make. But I will say any time where a team goes down to 12 men does change the game a lot and can swing a game back the other way. Either way, the betting agency wins at the end of the day through unpredictability and having rules like this, which does not protect one kid, whether they're playing mini or mod league or coming through representative juniors in under 15s, under 17s. If these games don't have a bunker and the contact is missed, no one is held accountable. Everyone moves on. Another kid's had a concussion. And not one thing that was done in the NRL game to sin bin the player or to suspend them later on has done anything to protect those other kids. So don't Hollywood it. Don't pretend it's a reality when it doesn't exist. The reality is you sign a fucking waiver that you're going to get trauma, or you change the rules of rugby league, whether it changes the fabric of it or not. You change the rules of rugby league and you get rid of high contact from the defence by making it completely illegal to tackle above the waist. Although that will knock out a lot of people going in low. But it won't knock out as many. They'll get their techniques right. There'll be a few that get it wrong on the day. And the game will change. Teams that are dominating won't be dominating if they change it, like next year, for example. It'll take a while to work out the type of squads you need again with a big change like that. What's the place of a front rower versus what sort of size body are you looking for? What profile are you searching for? These rule changes, whether it was the 6 agains, whatever they're doing, the 40-20s, the 7 tackle sets, all these things change the fabric of the game. They've changed it big time to the point where it's clubs that get on the front foot and future plan and have squads assembled, then have to start backtracking and buying other players and getting into a world of trouble. It's happened numerous times to numerous clubs. Some clubs are just better at doing things than others, we know that. But this concussion stuff, it's all a fucking it's a big lie as far as preventing it through retrospective action on players. It's like if we penalise these players enough and punish them and give them enough consequence, those incidences won't happen. And the point is, they will happen. They'll happen just as much, and sometimes they'll happen more. It doesn't matter if you have a crackdown in Magic Round or do it as some trial in the trials. You're going to fucking penalise and sin bin people for things that were accidents, and it's ridiculous. Even a lot of the swinging arms aren't intentional acts. Intentional acts. The intention wasn't to hit someone in the jaw. Sometimes it is. And some players put themselves into positions to get hit, so they can get penalties. Because they'll sacrifice themselves. They'll do whatever they can to win and get an advantage. That's the game. They're not playing for sheep, I don't know what I was about to say, but 2 points is worth a lot in today's game. Every 2 points is essential, until you qualify. More needs to be done by these jokers. Braithen Astor, Michael Carianis. Set a sucking cock. I'm not saying they'd probably knock me out. And they probably could knock me out. But I believe that they get on their hands and knees sometimes and pander to the bullshit. And the managers of the game, whether they're just trying to manage perception, which is all they're really doing, they're doing it the wrong way. Someone's got to have some balls and say, listen, our game's... Look, you hear about Peter V'landys talking about how tough the game of rugby league is to try and get Donald Trump, right? They've always had the perception of protection, haven't they? They've always had their helmets and all their gear because they're running at each other hard. There's a lot of tough stuff happening, and this gear was to protect the players from injury, right? Because they're padded up to the max. In fact, the gear was causing the injuries, making them worse in a lot of ways. But it's part of their game, so they've got to have the perception of the way the gear looks and the perception of the actions that they take need to be right. The perception. What about the fucking reality? We got a good game of rugby league. Someone slips and falls into a shoulder. We've got to sin bin the player. The second man in who was just standing there. And we've got to suspend him. Why? Oh, because Jane's at home and she's deciding whether her kid's going to play rugby league, AFL, or soccer, or football, or basketball. Tell you what, basketball, I dislocated 3 or 4 fingers, got elbowed in the face about 20 times, accidentally. Wasn't that good, but I enjoyed the game. It's all part of it. These things are unavoidable. We've got to basically pretend we're managing the perception so that, you know, Arthur and Martha's kid can play rugby league under this belief that the rules are going to protect them. Well, if the rules say that you can hit up here but you can't hit up here, you're going to get it wrong sometimes. And when people are hitting your hair and you start falling down, and everyone's taught to have 2 and 3 in the tackle, you're going to get hit in the face. And it could do long-term damage to you. It could kill you. That's the game that we love. And then only a handful of people can actually play really, really well. Or we'd all be doing it. The shit these players put themselves through to be fit, to have the endurance to run into brick walls for 60 to 80 minutes. For most of them. You know? The sacrifices they put on their bodies to have some perceptionary bullshit. You know, they're giving it so much for their mates. And there was nothing that Josh Curran could have done, nothing that a heap of players that have been suspended could have done. Yet we have this divisive, you know, tribal-based fans going, oh, get him off, he deserves it, that's disgusting. What about Gizolowski or whatever his name was? He's been sin bin, he's out of the game. Curran, your dog. Yeah, he's a dog and he's proud of it. A bulldog. But there's no way he should be fucking penalised. Penalty at the least. Some head contact there. They didn't mean it, but it happened. Play on. Josh, be careful. You know, that's what I mean. If that situation was to happen, they were in the same spots on the field, exact same scenario again, the same thing happens. Just does. They're running in the same spots, the same speed, with the same intent. Same thing happens. And Josh Curran has to sit out a couple of weeks. What a load of shit. Who's going to stand up for the fucking game? Who's going to do it? I don't have the resources to do it. Change the fucking rules or get some things signed to protect the game. Simple as that. And you know what? I believe 99.99% of fans, of players, and even ex-players, even people who know that in a couple of years they're fucked because they've got this dementia and they've got these problems that were caused through when they played rugby league. You know? But how do they prove it as well? A lot of them drunk so much piss. Alcohol is a poison. Fucks your brain. But it tastes so good sometimes. Makes you feel good. All these things are choices. If they're going to get paid good money, I think they should get paid more money. Right? But I don't believe this bullshit about youngsters don't know what they're doing. They're just going to sign their lives away. Have you seen how hard they run into each other without hitting the head? And the damage it's causing their body and their head anyway? Sometimes just the jolt from running into a bloke and just at training, players that train harder than they play even. They hurt their teammates to be the best. There's trauma just going to training. And trauma is a big word, but that's what it is. It's traumatic on your body. Whether you're fit, whether you're tough, whether you feel it or whether you love it, it's still trauma. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I'm trying to speak some fucking sense. You don't save one kid from sin binning someone after a video replay because the player had a concussion. No. Draw a line at careless, reckless, intentional. Intentional should be called assault. It's a game where you can legally assault people in certain parts of their body, and in certain parts you can't. But all the same, you can damage someone really badly, even though it's called legal. We've got to manage this perception. Kids won't play our game anymore. That's what these fuckers say. A lot of them. And then you've got them, half of them losing their shit about the kickoff. I don't want the kickoff. That's one of the, state of origin when Ray Warren says, it's on! State of origin! And the first hit up tells you so much in a game sometimes. It's like, if you come out of that contact well and the other team doesn't really smash you down off that first hit up, you can sort of get a feel. It doesn't always go that way, but you live to see that first moment. You've been waiting all fucking week for it. Payne Huss has been thinking about it all week for New South Wales, thinking about how he hasn't dominated Origin, how he wants to get that ball and run as hard as he fucking can at those Queenslanders. And they're thinking, we just want to smash this fucker so he never wants to run again. The smallest men on the field with the same courage, the same determination as the biggest men. But, a bit of incidental contact. No one gets sin binned or sent off. Can't ruin Origin for perception. Can we? It's Origin, let it go. The clubs have a right to be pissed. I hope someone with some fucking influence and some brains gets hold of this line of discussion. I really do. Take it to the fucking bank. We're not going to sit there and let our beautiful game be destroyed. If you want to be a part of this game, you want to risk the trauma on your head or on your hips, your waist, your chest, your ribs, your legs, your knees, your ankles, your feet, your ears, your fucking nose when Flanagan's around. It takes a big chunk. Bulldogs versus Dragons round 1. Can't wait. At Cogra again. Be great though. You know what I mean? Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I was going to show you the replays, but it'll just get blocked because they've got algorithm blockers all through YouTube on video footage from the NRL or Fox. If you don't pay for those rights, you don't have the right to share that material, which is fair enough. But, you know, that's NRL Media Watch, episode 1. For those who watched the whole lot, thank you very much. If you've got any points of view you want to raise, I've basically said this before. This isn't the first time I've taken this tact, but or track, but it needs to be done, and I'll keep doing it. And people keep watching and commenting, and most agree. You can't sit there and pander to bullshit, right? If someone's sitting there telling you, oh, you got to protect these fellas. No, the game of rugby league doesn't protect them. They've got the rules where they are. Now, we either accept the risks of incidental contact and understand that sometimes it doesn't go right, and manage it properly rather than retrospectively ruining games because one team lost a player due to an incidental contact. Oh, we've got to send this player off and make their team fucking suffer, which only helps betting agencies, and it does not help save one concussion in the game, doesn't protect kids. It only perpetuates a lie that they're doing that by doing it. Oh, we've got to be seen to be doing everything we can. Well, you're not. You're not fixing things. If that's the case, let them prove that it's through the contacts in rugby league that causes this dementia. Let them prove that they lived an existence where they didn't run at their mates on a weekend and hit their head on a wall. They didn't get into a fight with someone they know or don't know and cop one to the jaw, then fell and hit their head. Let them prove all that. Someone's got to be smart and say, oh, it's the laws of probability. You play this game, get enough head knocks, it's going to cause this. Okay. Well, do you want to play it? That's the risk. We're going to give you minimum wage $150. Your mate over there is going to be expected to work just as hard as you is on $1 million. Do you want to do it? Do you want to have a chance to make that $1 million as well? You're going to play one game of NRL? I don't know. You're going to play 20? You're going to play 200? Someone's got to get fucking serious with this shit. Now, I hope to see these journalists, some of them on here, and then you've got, Danny Wheeler and Michael Chamis. Could have put a whole heap on there. The Mole, Tony Adams. What's Kenty doing now? Maybe Kenty will fucking speak some sense. I don't care if he wants to take on a tree. He'll get some viewers. What's Matthew fucking Johns doing? And fucking, Sugar. Brian fucking Fletcher, what a champion he is. But how are they fixing it? What about these commentators? Every week, one minute they just change their perception and their prerogative on what's right and what's not. What are they doing to protect the fucking game? You want to protect the players, we'll change the fucking rules. So that to reduce the amount of head knocks, you're not going to be able to do it any other way. Simple as that. Or get some paperwork signed. Make sure that parents and player managers, players, kids, that they all know. And if the parents say, nah, we'll do something else, it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't for them. I can tell you now, it's a great game. People who play it love it. And they will continue to turn up and play rugby league because it's the greatest game of all. Anyway, hope we get beyond this bullshit at some point and go the fucking Bulldogs.